Hello, guys, and welcome back to the last episode of Tech Talk with Ethan for season one. Today I'm here with Heidi Coppernoll, does automation, lighting. She's got done everything in theater. Yeah, thank you for joining me today.
Hello.
Could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so my name's Heidi. I grew up in Michigan. I got a knack for theater back in high school. I did a lot of theater productions then, doing some sound, doing some lighting, and I just got hooked. So then I went down and went to college at Full Sail University. I got a associate's degree in show production and touring, a bachelor's degree in entertainment business, and then I went out on the road with Disney on Ice. I traveled with them for 7 years. Transitioned to a job in the Caribbean working for a five-star resort as a rigger, and then went back to Disney on Ice for a little bit as a head props technician. Then switched, got the big boots on, and joined Cirque du Soleil for lighting, toured with them for a little bit, and then transitioned to doing automation. So definitely been around the world doing this type of a job and having a lot of fun along the way.
For sure, that's like a lot of switching from Disney on Ice to Cirque du Soleil to back to Disney on Ice to
Yeah.
yeah. What was that process like, switching between
I
the two?
It was pretty scary because, I had a really good situation with Feld Entertainment doing Disney on Ice. I was comfortable. I had a lot of opportunities, but I just wanted more. So I was scared to make the leap. But at the same time, I was like, but it could get better. I could experience
Yeah,
something new. So it's
definitely.
like, do I want to leave my comfort zone? Yes, let's do it.
Definitely. Well, and
But
that's the joy of this, right? Like, you can explore lots of different
yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of different people along the way to help you out, give you, just a little bit of comfort to be like, it's going to be okay. You're going to land on your feet. It's just going to be a transition phase. Those are always uncomfortable, but just stick
Definitely.
with it. So, yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad that you're here now with me, and glad that you've
Yeah.
you've had, fun along the way. What drew you to automation and lighting?
Um, I just liked the design aspect that I could add to a show. When I first started back in high school, we had a dance competition that would come in, and I was asking the director of the show, I'm like, hey, could I change the color to make their costumes pop a little bit? Because they're just dancing and it's just a backwash color, right? So
Uh-huh.
he was like, okay, like we kind of wanted something more plain, but if you want to spice it up, that's fine. And then so I did that a little bit and it was really fun and I was nervous, but then it like worked. And then we had a dance competition that came in and they were just doing like a showcase for the end of the year. And she
Hmm.
was like, it's kind of an edgy number. I have some specific looks that I want to get. There's some musical notes that I want to pop with the lighting a little bit. So that's when I really got my boots in. And I was like, wow, there's this whole design aspect where the lights can just emphasize it to the next level. And I was like, I am so into this because I can't play a musical instrument, but I have an eye for detail like that. So
Uh-huh.
it was kind of like my little hidden thing. I was like, yes, I'm good at this. And then when I was with Disney on Ice, we had a silk act in the show. And I just, was very protective of the performers, wanted to make sure that they were okay. Everything was comfortable for them so they could just get up there and do the aerial routine without worrying about everything that goes around it safety wise. And it
Hmm.
just like that level of stress just felt good because I was like, I'm working with them. I understand what they're saying. I can switch into technical terms and like make that little fine adjustment that they really need that would help the act. So then I was like, wow, this feels really good. So I just kept going with it. So then I started to transition out of lighting more into automation. So,
Nice. Okay, so let's dive into automation then. Could you explain what automation is for those who don't
yes,
know?
sure. So, automation is basically a programmed movement that we are doing, whether we are moving props, scenery, people, like there's a computer involved, a motor doing that specific movement. Sometimes it's programmed to do a certain distance over a certain amount of time, and it's going to be most of the time accurate every single time. And then there's another side of it where it's all done on the fly. So it's more like a silk routine for Disney on Ice, right? They're not going to pre-program those cues because there's a lot of fine things that can happen and you want to be able to make those little adjustments. So automation is just moving something to take the weight off of a person pulling a rope and giving that workload to a motor instead. So we're using automation a ton behind the scenes for different shows in the entertainment industry. And now we're starting to see it more outside of the entertainment industry, but that's a whole nother world.
Yeah, for sure. There's, whole bunch we can go into here, but we should, dive into the basics. What is the process of becoming interested in automation, or what drew you to that?
I think just understanding safety, the risks involved, having that eye for detail, because something so tiny that's just a little bit off can have a very drastic effect. And being able to approach that job without letting it scare you, because every job, every point of our life is going to be dangerous. But if we can say, I'm smart enough, I'm careful enough, and I care to do a good job and be attentive at my work, then it's going to be fine. So it just takes a certain type of person to do that job, but it can be 100% worth it, because you get to work with some amazing people who can do amazing things.
For sure, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's not scary. It's just a little bit different. And if you have like a programmer brain, automation definitely caters into that, as well as a technician style brain, because we're still working with motors. We still need to touch the things when they're broken and switch out different things. So it definitely touches a lot of different specialties.
For sure. So you said there's certain software that goes into automation.
Yes, so just like there's a million different types of lighting consoles and sound consoles, automation has automation consoles. So each one of those has a similar syntax to go into it, and just understanding how to read it, control it, program within it, and make smaller alterations is going to be something that's a little more tailored to it. But it's definitely that same programmer feeling that you get when you're programming a sound console or a lighting console to play back during a show.
Nice. So how long did it take you to learn an automation console, let's say?
Um, a week.
Oh wow.
We had formal training. The console that I specifically am comfortable with is run by Tate. So it's their navigator style software, and they have different consoles to play it back on, but they have a GUI that's the same across them. So they did formal training with us for a week, just breaking it down. And I had been watching the software play back on different shows and different applications and asking a lot of questions. But then when I sat down and could actually do it myself, all of the verbiage was there. I already had it drilled into my head from years of doing joystick automation with Disney on Ice. So I knew what I was looking for. And then just, formalizing it, being like, go here for this, this is how you change that, just getting comfortable with that. It happened pretty fast.
That's impressive, right? I mean, to me, it sounds impressive to me, but
yeah, but it's just like a sound console. Like, it's like, what this button does. It's just this console puts it over here.
exactly,
But like,
yeah,
once you get over those like different locations, you're at home and you're just
definitely,
like, let's do this show,
for sure, for sure. That's. I'm glad that's so cool that you can learn that so fast, and I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like theater's hands on, right? So you
Yeah,
you learn hands on,
exactly.
and
Yeah,
that's the best way.
kinesthetic learning definitely helps. And being able to learn under pressure and process that stress a different way without being, just going crazy
Yeah,
definitely helps, because you have to maintain control, and be able to ask questions without feeling crazy.
yeah, definitely. How do you manage stress levels during a show?
Well, there's definitely situations that will come up, and then you just get that like icy feeling, and you're just like, I never thought this would happen. This is interesting. Okay, let's have our, routines, and communication is so very important, because you can be stressing out, but then once you communicate, hey, this is happening, somebody else might have so much more experience or been through that already. And they're just like, oh, it's easy, just do this. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I should have thought about that. But I'm just over here like, ooh, but you totally like zeroed me out, and like we're all good, and the audience doesn't even notice. So communicating and not being scared to ask questions when something weird happens definitely helps that stress.
For sure. So I guess you've had stuff go wrong.
Oh
Could you
yes.
talk about one of those times?
Yes. So we were on tour, and we had a lot of network switches in our lighting system, and it was just a formatting issue, and we just got stuck in a loop, and the console couldn't push any cues to the lights because the processor was just stuck. So we had to do an all stop and try to figure out what happened. And then we're just like, just turn it all off and turn it back on again, right? That's like the number
That
one
always
IT
works. Yeah.
fix. So we did that, and then we kind of like crippled back in, and then it kind of started working, and then it stopped again. So it was just like, it's embarrassing because the show had just opened. It had been open for maybe a month or two, and all of a sudden we're having a show stop due to lighting. Like that never
Yeah.
happens. So I'm just like, okay, well, I'm just going to communicate with my team. We had a more senior person on the crew, so he was kind of just telling me what I needed to do. I was relaying information back to him as I saw it because he wasn't next to me. He was at front of house, troubleshooting from there. So we were just constantly back and forth, and then we included the technical manager in on what was happening and what we were doing to try to help. So we were just extremely open. Other people in other departments were trying to help us out, which was always
Oh wow.
amazing and
Yeah.
appreciated. But then we finally got it figured out, finally got the show back up and running. But it was just one of those things like, we never have a show stop for lighting. This is
Yeah.
so crazy. And it was
Yeah.
just a digital thing that we got stuck into. So it's crazy.
Yeah. Things happen. It's live theater, right? That's the joy of
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
What would you say is like a hierarchy in your position? Like, you work your way up.
Yes. So I mean, you always want that white glove, I just come in and sit at the console, run the show, and then get back on the bus, right? Like in tour,
Yeah.
that's kind of like the dream. But I think it takes a certain type of person to want to do that job, because
Hmm.
I'm more of the technician side where it's just like, give me the problems, let me troubleshoot. I love
Yeah.
puzzles, let me fix them.
Hmm.
So the hierarchy would normally be, you would get hired in as a technician, you would fix the problems, set up the show, hand it over to the front of house person. They would run the show, then they'd hand it back to you, and then you take it down and put it in the truck. But I feel like that hierarchy is mainly for rock and roll, because once you get into like family entertainment, like Cirque du Soleil and Disney on Ice, you have to work as a team, because somebody might be sick one day, and all of a sudden the front of house guy is not there to run the show. So you have to kind of just work and be like, well, I know how to call spots, I know how to run the console,
Hmm.
I know how to do the backstage tracks to support, carpentry and props with all of their cues and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
it becomes more of a technician and a head of department relationship. So the hierarchy would be, you get hired on as the lighting assistant, and then years of experience, years on the show will definitely put you in the spot to be promoted to head of the department. And then if you
Hmm.
wanted to keep going up, then you would become, stage manager, technical director, like one of those
Definitely.
seats,
Yeah.
and then formally leave your department behind, but then oversee multiple departments.
For sure.
So that's how it kind of feels on this side of the industry.
Nice. So have you been in that situation where you've stepped in, something happens, right? And you've been like, I'm here. They call you in, right? Last minute.
Yeah, and it's definitely been one of those things where I'm like, all right, this is what's happening. This is
Yeah.
what we're doing. We got this, guys.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you wear different hats different days depending on what needs to be done and whether you have experience with this problem over somebody else. But then, you take the hat off the next day.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
just kind of like rotates around. So it's pretty good.
Awesome. So you've toured around with different companies.
Um, for me, I've toured with Feld Entertainment and then Cirque du Soleil. So it's a total of 10 years touring. I know some people, they jump around a lot more, but I really wanted to lock into one company and just try multiple different things out. So I had more experience, but still that feeling of home, if that makes sense.
For
So
sure.
with Disney on Ice, I was assistant lighting, assistant pyro, head pyro, assistant automation, head automation, and then I came back as head props for one point in time because they needed a certain person for that job, and I was like, let's try it out. So
Yeah.
I was able to try all of those things because I stayed with one company. A lot of people will jump around a little bit. It just depends on what you want.
For sure. And how long are the touring seasons for you when you toured?
So, Feld Entertainment, we would tour from fall to spring, early summer, and then we would have, 3 months off and then go back out on tour. So that's kind of how their touring schedule went. Now with Cirque du Soleil, when I was out on tour with them, we would tour for 3 months, have 2 weeks off, 3 months, 2 weeks off. So it was more of a full-time year-round job with
Hmm.
vacation to decompress and relax and see family and friends between. So that one felt more stable,
Hmm.
but it's just a different style. And they were both classified as full-time jobs, salary positions, because they
Hmm.
were very consistent. I know a lot of rock and roll shows, they will tour for a specific time, and then once that tour ends, you're finding the next tour, you're finding
Yeah,
the
yeah.
next job, the
Hmm.
next team to go with. So I chose not to go down that route. Maybe someday I will, just depends on how it goes.
Nice. Well, it seems like a very demanding, demanding position, right? Because, you're here, here 1 week, and then move on and keep moving along
Yeah.
the state.
Yeah, because those shows, they would be in a city for 1 week,
Hmm.
sometimes two, depending on how big. So for Disney on Ice, most of the time when they play Philadelphia over Christmas and New Year's, they're there for 2 weeks.
Okay, yeah.
But they're doing a ton of shows. So even though you don't have to pack on Saturday, you're doing 3 shows.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's definitely like nice in a way, but you're earning it because you are working really hard.
Definitely. How many shows did you guys do? Was it like that? Was it the three show in a day, or how
Um,
long?
Well, for Feld Entertainment, they'll do 3 shows Saturdays and Sundays. It just depends on the city where they
Okay,
are in the
yeah.
world,
Hmm.
the specific show, how it's selling. Like there's a bunch of different factors in it that go into it. But they'll
Uh-huh.
do anywhere from like 8 to 12 shows a week,
Okay, wow,
roughly.
that's
And then
crazy.
yeah, and then Cirque, I think they're more like 7 to 10 because they don't do 3 show days. It's
Okay,
just too
yeah.
much. They might do 3 shows on their ice show that they just released called Axel. I think they had a few 3 show Saturdays on their schedule, but I think it's the only Cirque show that was doing it regularly.
Nice. And then I mean again, it's a lot of back and forth. Did you get like tired out? You're like, I'm like I have no energy. I need to, take a nap for, 5 hours and
Well, it's tough because you feel like you would because you're working 55 to 70 hours a week, but then you have to think about it. You're in an environment of people that genuinely want to be there. They're passionate about their work. They're passionate about their act, creating, pushing themselves to do more and be better for the audience to enjoy something even crazier. And you just get hooked on it and you're just like, well, if he's doing that and then going to the gym after work, then I can keep going, I can keep pushing myself. So you just kind of
uh-huh.
get locked into this very positive attitude where you're just like, I'll sleep when I sleep, and then it's exciting to be in these different places. So even on your day off, you're waking up early, you're going to walk around the city, finding that local cafe or that local
Hmm.
art, and you just get so caught up in everything that it's just go, 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 and you're used to it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's, the way it goes, right? Because, you're so focused on your art, right? And keep going and you don't want to take breaks, but you need to, of course. But
Exactly.
this yeah, that's it's crazy. It's crazy to me, like how like I haven't worked, that long and a long time, right? But
Hmm.
and I haven't gotten that split place, but I think, I'm glad it's cool that it, can happen, right?
Hmm. Yeah, and people definitely have to pace themselves so they don't get burned out too quick because they
Yeah,
get too lost
definitely.
in it. But then, when you're on tour for 3 months and then you have 2 weeks off, in those 2 weeks,
Yeah.
you're slow moving, like
Yeah.
you're relaxing, you're soaking up all the rest that you missed out on because you were going crazy then. So the 3 months and 2 week rotation that Cirque had is pretty well thought out and it definitely works.
Definitely, for sure. Okay, as we wrap it up here, guys, what advice would you give to young artists in the industry?
I would definitely say, try to be a jack of all trades. So if you're in an environment, ask questions, see what other people are doing around you. Every job is important. but you never know if that person's going to be there tomorrow, because some people might have a very specific thing that only they know how to do, and then suddenly they don't show up because of something, and then you're like, oh no, what are we going to do? So I always try to work with my eyes open and just see what is going on around me, and over time, fill in over here, help them out a little bit. It might not be in my job title, but you're a team. So it's going to pay off in the long run if you're helping each other out. And it definitely works. I know I've been pretty fortunate to have so much experience in different departments. But if you are just stuck in one thing to be like, I only want to do lighting, that's it, then you're only going to get those jobs. And they're probably going to have a lot of gaps in between, because somebody will be like, well, I need a lighting technician that also knows projection, because it's a smaller thing and we got to make sure everybody's versatile. So it's just, if you say no to that other experience, you could be losing out on a job down the road.
Definitely.
So I think that's what I would suggest.
For sure. That's great advice. Thank you so much, Heidi.
Yeah, no worries.
And thank you guys for tuning in today. And it's a pleasure. Thank you guys, and see you guys next season.
Yay.